What's up, guys? We're back with another Masters of the Universe Masterverse Revelation review, taking a look at a figure that honestly I was kind of surprised came out as early as he did because he's really not in the show all that much, and that, of course, would be Spikor. So, he's kind of a blink and you'll miss him character almost in that original episode. And he's also a very classic look. So this guy doesn't really have a redesign from any of his vintage offerings. So we've got him here, of course, in standard packaging for the line. So that blue Eternian hieroglyph theme. Figure there in the big window, you've got your Revelation logo on the bottom. His name runs down one spine, and then you've got a really cool shot of him on the other with a larger piece of artwork on the back, coupled with a bio as well as some cross cells. So let's do it. Let's pull him out and take a look. And here we go. Out of the package, our Spikor figure. Again, a figure that I really didn't think we were going to get this soon, like at all, because he doesn't really do anything in the show. But it's cool to get him because I like the guy's design, and he translates into a pretty decent figure too. He's very basic as far as this line goes. He's like a He-Man kind of figure with an overlay and a different head. But this is MOTU, so that's kind of the way it goes. So let's see what he can do, see how he moves around. Head looks up, really good actually, probably one of the best so far. He does not look down all that great, like he can, but his armor gets in the way. So he looks pretty good, but he could go further if the armor was sort of like, out of the way. Head tilts side to side, full rotation. Arms go out at the shoulders, of course. You got rotation. We've got our bicep swivel. We've got double jointed elbows. You've got your hinges, you've got rotation at the wrist. Now he does have an overlay. He does have the diaphragm cut, so he is able to tilt back and forth slightly, and he's able to tilt side to side slightly, but it doesn't really work all that well because, well, look at him. So it works a little bit, like you can get him to tilt just a bit, and you can kind of see that he is askew there, but he doesn't really stay all that well because the armor wants to kind of pull him back to neutral. He does have rotation at the waist, though. We've got legs that go out pretty much all the way. They kick forward pretty far for having the loincloth there. You've got a little kick backwards. We've got our thigh cut. Double jointed knees, but he's got the big furry boot cuffs, so they do get in the way. He goes back, but not a tremendous amount. And then you've got your boot cut for swivel there. We've got rocker. And we've got hinge at those ankles. So, again, a very standard figure. Like, he's not missing anything. He isn't different in any way compared to anything else. The only real hindrance on this guy is that he does have some limitations at the torso because he is fully covered by that armor. But at the same time, his head does have better range than just about every other figure so far. So there's a little bit of a trade-off there. Now, visually, Spikor is definitely a classic look for the figure because he doesn't really get a redesign in the show. So we just get Spikor as Spikor should be for the most part, and I'm pretty happy with him. Again, built on the same kind of body that we've seen throughout. So, if you've got He-Man, if you've got, Man-at-Arms, if you've got any of the male figures, really, you kind of know what to expect on this guy, and that's in no way a negative. It's MOTU, so there's going to be a million and one ways to reuse parts. His big selling point is, well, his points. So you've got his spiky armor, and then, of course, the spiky head. I think for the most part, he does look really good. There's not tons and tons of paint on this guy. So the arms are cast, the bracers are cast, the furry loincloth is cast. You've got some paint on the belt. You've got really no wash on the boots, which is a little bit different. There's a little bit there, but it's pretty minimal. And then there's a little bit on the boots. He's very light on paint. Of course, there is a little bit on the armor. You've got this green paint here, and then he's got the purple cast for the actual armor itself. It is removable. If you want to have him shirtless, you can do that. But the big selling point is just how unique he is and his different design, because of course he's a weird looking guy. He's very, very colorful. So purples, greens, blues, reds, some blacks, and then varying shades within. So, his skin tone does not match his armor. His head doesn't necessarily match his armor. Some of that stuff is different, but you've got the big spikes here, and they're not super pointy. They have rounded edges because, of course, it has to conform to be able to be sold in retail stores to kids, so it's not a super spiky, pointy thing that you're going to hurt yourself grabbing. They do have some give to them, so it's not going to be a painful experience. I think they look good. They're not overly, enormous or anything, but they're not super small. And then the head sculpt on him is a very classic looking thing. He's kind of got like that piggish nose, which is very much a thing that I think of for Spikor. You get those piercing yellow eyes and the teeth that stick out just over that kind of scowling expression on his face there. So he does look a little bit angry, a little bit evil, and I think he looks good. Head is not too small. Again, I have to keep talking about that because it does seem, for the most part across these figures, that a lot of the heads are a little bit on the small side. And while his head might be, the spikes really just sort of beef him up a little bit. It makes it not as easy to notice in some respects. So I think he looks good. Again, there isn't much in terms of spikiness or pointiness on him, but I think the point comes across, no pun intended. And he does look really good. It's a really super deep purple with those yellow accents and a little bit of wash in there, especially around the nose, just to bring out some of that sculpt. So overall, he is a pretty basic figure at his base level. He's just a guy with some armor and a new head, but it's those two things that really make him stand out because he is so weird in his color scheme, and his armor, his idea, his style is just so different from everybody else, and it works to make him pop on the shelf. And then as far as accessories goes, this is another instance where we don't get a lot of stuff with a figure, but it's not a negative for me because he comes with everything you need. It may not be 50 pieces, but the 4 things that he comes with are perfectly fine. So to start with, you've got our hands. We've got 2 gripping hands on him in the box. He comes with a set of fists. So you get 4 total hands, 2 sets here. So set of fists, set of gripping hands. We get his spiked club mace here, which is done up in sort of a metallic orange. He can hold this in either hand just fine. Of course, a very vintage feel. This is his signature weapon, really, when it comes down to it. When I think of Spikor, this is usually what I think of. So we've got this. The sculpt is really good. It's nicely sized. You know, it's a very large weapon. But my favorite weapon is this. So you get an extra hand for him. So pop this out and pop this in, and we've got his very, spiky hand converting kind of thing where you can change his hand out, and he's got the sort of mechanism that has those big spikes on it. And this is, of course, a very Filmation thing, a very vintage thing, so you don't necessarily need to see this in Revelation to appreciate this, where they're giving us nods to other instances of MOTU history. And I think this looks pretty good. It is kind of on the big side, but I think it adds a little bit of oomph to him because, frankly, this makes it look even more menacing than some little short thing. This looks like it can do some damage, and it's got some nice colors on it to make it pop against the figure with this super bright orange. And then, of course, a little bit of this, it's not metallic silver, it's that sort of like pearlescent kind of plastic that we see. So he does have 4 accessories, so it's not a ton of stuff, but it's all very impactful. I love the fact that he comes with fists just to have him, be able to punch someone in the head, but he's got his 2 very signature weapons with the replacement hand claw and the spiked mace. So yeah, this is a solid figure. He was one of the ones for sure that I was really looking forward to in this wave. I mean, I like the bad guy figures, so I'm always interested in that. But he has a crazy design. He has a wacky color scheme, and that kind of stuff really works for me when it comes to a toy. And I think it works in his favor here. So all of those purple hues, the blue hues, the greens, the reds, some of that pearlescent plastic, the metallic colors, and then of course when you change up the weapons, you've got different things all over him too that just sort of clash with him. So there's a lot going on. He's a very busy figure. I love the spike nature of him. Just the weird, goofy aspect of him needing to be covered in spikes is fun from an action figure perspective, and he is very much on par with every other male figure in this line. So if you like He-Man or Skeletor or Man-at-Arms and you dig Spikor's look, you're going to be happy with this figure. So that's going to do it for this look at the Masters of the Universe Masterverse Revelation Spikor. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.